Hey guys, what's up? It is Ripe again, back with more revenge stories. If you haven't already, please don't forget to check out my Patreon at patreon.com/ripeyoutube for exclusive Reddit content. Without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. The first one is titled, "Neighbor built an illegal hunting nest on my property, I catch them red-handed." I live in an area where properties are huge. It is not like in the suburbs where there are fences and things to let you know where exactly the lines are. Most of the area around us are woods too, and it is not uncommon to see deer coming really close to the houses. So, when I was going for a walk and saw a hunting nest on my property, I had no idea who it belonged to, but I just knew that I didn't want it there. It was not that deep into the woods and I didn't want anyone aiming in a direction that could be my house. There were plenty of deep woods that people were allowed to hunt in, so I have no idea why someone built it. I took it apart though and thought that was the end of it. Unfortunately, I found the nest being put up over and over again, and finally one day I caught the two men building it and confronted them. I only spoke to man 1 and man 2 just stood around. Me, "What are you doing on my property?" Man number 1, "We are rebuilding our hunting nest. Some a-hole keeps destroying it and we want to hunt for some deer." Me, "That a-hole would be me, because again, this is my property." Man number 1, "You cannot own the woods. Now, if you destroy my nest again, we are going to have major problems. I can sue you for vandalizing my nest. Hell, I might even decide to introduce you to my rifle close up." Me, "Feel free to call the police if you want to get this settled quickly, but this is my private property. There are many areas deeper in the woods that have ready-made nests and that area is made for shooting. You are too close to the houses here and it just is not safe." They ignore me and keep building their nest again. I don't back down easily, but the threat of being shot with a rifle would do it. Life over bravery, folks. So I decided to make some calls to the police myself and eventually got them to come to the woods with me, where I showed them the nest and a map that proves it is on my property. They watched me dismantle it again, assuring me that it was well within my rights. Catching the two men would be a bigger challenge though. I didn't know who they were and the police didn't have all day to wait and see them. So I wasted a good portion of my time trying to map out common times that the duo was hunting on my property and relate it to the police. They came into the woods with me and the two men were there trying to rebuild their nest again. Honestly, the number of materials and time it took them, I really didn't know why they kept trying. My best guess would be just pure spite. Anyway, so when they saw me with the police, they were not as scared as I hoped. Man number 1, "What are you doing back here? I told you to stop destroying my nest." He turns to the officer. Man number 1, "Officer, arrest this man for destroying my property. He owes me money and apologies for destroying my nest at least a dozen times already." Then the officer replied, "Do you have permission from the owner to be building this here?" Man number 1, "Of course we do." Me, "That's interesting, because you told me that nobody owned the woods." Man number 1, "No, but I know the guy who owns the house near here and he said that we could do whatever we wanted." Officer, "This man is the owner of the property and has told us that he asked you several times to leave. Instead you continue to trespass and allegedly threatening him with your shotguns." Man number 1 is now stammering for some kind of excuse, with man 2 just looking downright terrified. The officers forced the two to take down the half-built hunting nest and then arrest them for trespassing. While that revenge felt good, it turns out that there was more in store for these guys. While sadly I couldn't prove that I was threatened with their gun, there was still so much more that was going to happen to them. Luckily, since I was the owner of the property, I was allowed to be in court while they tried to explain to the judge all the charges that were against them. Judge, "And this man told you it was his property when he caught you building your hunting nest for the 3rd time." Man number 1, "I thought he was trying to lie and say he owned the entire woods. It was just a misunderstanding." Judge, "And yet you repeatedly trespassed and built new nests." Man number 1, "You don't understand. Judge, "Yes or no?" "Yes, Your Honor." "And you each had a firearm on your person while you were trespassing?" "Yes, we had our shotguns for hunting." Now this is the part where it gets really interesting. Remember how I said that there were plenty of pre-established places in the woods that those two could hunt. What I didn't mention was that besides a small fee, the only thing they had to do was present their hunting license. I was guessing that they didn't have one, and that was the reason they were trying to poach on my land. Instead, I found the bigger reason. Judge. So while for trespassing and trespassing while armed it is already a serious crime, there is something else that we cannot put past us. Even if I wanted to believe your story of not knowing you were trespassing and letting you off with that, we did a background check on both of you. Neither one of you have a hunting license or a license for a firearm, and in your case, man number 1, you had your guns and licenses revoked from you 2 years ago. Man number 1 turned white as a ghost upon hearing the judge call him out for that. Judge, these violations are out of control, and since the record of them being taken away says that it was for misuse, I am inclined to not believe any of your story. I will release you into the custody of the sheriff and set bail at $100,000 each. We will set a trial date and go from there. We were dismissed and I obviously was not allowed back for their trial. I never did find out what happened, and I also looked at the newspaper closely for a while just to get any clue. All I know is that I haven't seen them again, and I was not called to stand trial for the altercation we had. Maybe they decided my role was not big enough, or the two took a plea deal instead of standing trial. I don't know if man number 2 would have said anything better, but letting his friend do all the talking clearly was not the best strategy. If they had only listened at the first time and left my property, they might have gotten away with having illegal guns. And yeah, Ripe Stars, that is exactly what entitled people deserve. I mean, they would have already deserved some of that just for trespassing. However, trespassing with guns and then threatening the owner of the property while not even having a firearm license is just the icing on the cake. If you have watched until here and enjoy stories about entitled people, then please don't forget to post some star emojis in the comments if you want to support the channel. Thank you so much for your support. The next one is titled, "The best revenge is to let them bury themselves, girlfriend cheating after 5 years relationship." One time a wise man said to me, "A broken heart heals quickly if you don't let the pain get between the cracks," or something like that. After over 5 years, I thought Meg is the one, high school sweetheart, her parents loved me, I became a family member. Her brother, just 2 years older than her, had a very rare disease, and since the age of 10 he was in a wheelchair. I was always there helping out, driving him for his rehabilitation, sometimes even hundreds of miles. I have never accepted money for my services, but that is what family does. They were rather on the poor side, always beaten by life, always struggling, father in another country sending money, getting every financial aid possible, in a huge debt. I was not doing too good, but I decided to sacrifice my own pleasures for something that mattered to me. Me and Meg had lived together in the past and we decided to live together again. We didn't split, mostly the decisions of living together or not were financially based. I spent my whole summer to make our new place look better. I put a lot of money in it. Besides working and fixing the condo, I hadn't had time for anything else. I was excited for Meg to come back. We hadn't talked much since she had a summer job in another country. I understood that and I knew she will spend her hard-earned money wisely after she will come back. So then she came back and she was a different person. Short skirts, heels, a lot of makeup. She was never like this. Always very modest, generous and appreciative, and always helping other people. She had a very good heart and I didn't know what was going on. I felt she is not Meg anymore, not the one I knew at least. She was very distant and I knew there was more. I was patient and gave her time. After enough time had passed, I asked her to take a drive with me, which took little convincing. I took her to one of our spots where we had shared a lot. She told me nothing besides asking for a month break. I didn't say a word, but I felt in my heart like it is over. Month break from what? A relationship? It doesn't work that way, not for me. I agreed and told her to take her time. This break month was very hard for me, did not seem hard for her. I still couldn't understand why she had changed so much. And yet I was helping out with her brother, which even included helping him to get dressed and other basic tasks, if you know what I mean. One day though, when our good friend came to visit us with a bottle of wine, Meg started crying for no reason. She closed herself in the restroom, and since our friend was there, I asked her to keep an eye on her, and then I decided to take a drive since it helps me to think. During the drive, something occurred to me. I just started to see everything as a whole picture, and suddenly all the dots were connecting themselves. Cheating has crossed my mind before, but I'm not a paranoid person and I don't let my emotions determine my actions. But this time, everything, every small thing, started to be a part of the puzzle. I called my friend asking if Meg is okay and decided to give her some more time and get her a little worried about me. I knew her well and my plan was to make her emotionally involved in me. With her not knowing where I am at, I knew she would feel out of control about the situation and I knew her emotions will explode at some point. At least, I hoped that. I went to see her mother. It was a 200-mile drive, so I had some time to think. Meg's mom also knew something was wrong and she was worried like every mother would. I had a very close relationship with the mother. Having no choice, I told her that I think it is over between me and Meg, not going into the details. Her mother cried and it felt like a goodbye. That was the last time I saw her. When I was on my way back, I got a text from Meg that she is going home for a few days and she is in the bus now. It had never crossed my mind to violate Meg's privacy, but Meg's mother called me when Meg was on the bus back to our condo. Her mother checked Meg's phone when she was at her mother's place. I just couldn't keep hanging like this anymore. The text of course confirmed my worries about cheating, however, I have never seen the texts on my own. I asked her mother to not talk to her about that and she agreed. When Meg got home, I was not there. I decided to spend a few days at my friend's place just to heat up her emotions. What I tried to achieve was to make her feel that my behavior is out of the ordinary and unpredictable, which would make her suspicious and feeling out of control. I knew Meg's schedule and I got perfectly when she was in the middle of her morning shower. I thought I would see something which would confirm my suspicions. I hid under the bed so she wouldn't see me. I heard her checking my stuff in the part of the room which was mine, later checking my desk, definitely looking for something. She left, but I knew her well enough and I decided to lay under the bed for another 10 to 15 minutes. Sure enough, she forgot something, as always. Additional 15 minutes under the bed and time to investigate. My work was starting in 2 hours, so I didn't have much time. Nothing obvious after the fast search and I couldn't find anything which she has taken from me, but she definitely did and it did not sound like an office supply. I felt shameful, but I did not feel that I had any choice. Something definitely was going on. I unscrewed her laptop, unscrewed her hard drive and copied all the hard drive to mine. After work I went to visit my friend who is a computer wizard. I knew with his help I will get to the files I need much quicker. Finding the archive files is not that hard, but how do you read them? Sure enough, with his help and a little bit of time, I was able to read everything from the computer. Just by skimming through, it was obvious for me. Cheating was just the top of the iceberg of the things I got to know. I got back home and sure enough, my checks are gone. I couldn't believe it. It was just not like her. At that point I knew it is over for the relationship. A few months ago I got an offer to move to the US where I live now. Nothing was there to stop me, but what is my plan? I could go, I have the visa, the money, but then there is this amazing feeling of the adventure. All my life I was very static, very reasonable, sensible and sane, never done anything crazy. I felt like to shake things up a little bit. I mean, a lot. First things first, I had to take care of the business. As early as I could, I closed my bank account, changed all the passwords and just in case, called the owner of the condo. When Meg was at work with the help of my best friend Alex, I packed all my belongings. The owner of the condo came and she was sure impressed about the improvements. I told her I had to move out and we need to figure out the way to terminate the contract. After all, she gave me the deposit back and I didn't have to pay this month's rent and utilities. She even agreed to reassign the internet contract to her. She knew and she will be able to get a much better deal on the condo, and since I was a perfect tenant, she trusted me. I told her that my ex-girlfriend will move out in a few days. She made big eyes but no questions asked. Next was my job. I went to see my boss, showed my resignation letter and we said goodbye in peace. No hard feelings, I left a short note to my ex. We have to move out. You have time until XYZ date. I also blocked my ex on my phone, email and social media, and here is what I know from a couple of our shared friends. Meg freaked out about the whole situation. She told all the friends that I was cheating on her. She got in some trouble at work, and after she tried to steal some equipment, she was subsequently fired. She quit her school, and until this day she doesn't have a degree. She had less than 2 semesters left. She moved to the country where her new boyfriend was. After about 7 months since I saw her last time, she got a baby girl, which was not mine. Her boyfriend ended up in a jail for some reason and spent there 6 months. From what I know, they are still together, but it is not a happy relationship. What I know from the mother? Nothing. I decided to leave the family alone. I thought it will be the best for all of us. What I know from Meg? Nothing. She sent me birthday wishes twice, which ended up in trash as soon as I got them. She sent it to my parents' house. They don't live there, they are with me now, but they have kept the house. What I did, and I think hope happened, I moved out and Meg does not know what the heck is going on. She sees the note, calls to the owner who explained her the situation, and that is how she got to know that she is my ex now. She goes to empty my account, but she cannot get the money with the checks. Since she is not a detective type and she is driven by emotions, she is just furious. I took every single thing/gift I gave her, I mean everything I could find, and I donated it with her name. She received a thank you letter from a local foster care house, so she knows that her stuff was not stolen by me, it was donated by her, and she cannot do a thing about it. Her car was technically mine. It was a crappy car at a shop for a repair during the events. I bought it from our friend who was in need, and since then she always wanted to get it back. I sold the car back to her for the price of the car plus the repair cost, asking her to give back the things left in the car to Meg. And I gotta say guys, that was written a little bit confusing, so I suppose what OP did is that he sold this old car back to his old friend. He did not sell it back to Meg. Anyway, just to play some more evil, I found a Gumtree European Craigslist, a cheap bicycle which fit into Meg's car perfectly, and I hope she was smart enough to get the message. Lastly, Meg's brother borrowed from me the equivalent of $3,000. It was for his new wheelchair, computer and some minor stuff. I decided I will just leave it. I sent a package to Meg's brother and mother, he lived with her, and I stuffed it with his favorite things, plus I bought him an Xbox with some games. It was a goodbye letter to him and the mother, letting them know that I am moving to the US. That is how Meg got to know where I'll be. The letter did not mention a word about her. Meg hates me, her family loves me. After some time had passed, I think I could do some things better, like not digging in her laptop, which makes me feel shameful. At that time I felt it was the only good option. Some things I have done, I feel I couldn't do better. Moving to the US was the best decision of my life. It was hard in the beginning, but for sure I wanna live here. I haven't visited my country since I moved. 4 years passed in 2 months. Edit, a few people have shown concern here about the checks. After a recent PM, I feel it is worth to explain. Checks in Europe don't work like in the US, same idea, but they are not common. Not every bank will accept them. In my country and the bank, the checks were more like actual money, which had to be covered by money on the account or paid with cash. They are used for the international transactions. I sort of had to buy these checks because I wanted to purchase a motorcycle from the US, a Yamaha R1, since it is much cheaper. I was almost about to purchase it. I had one check on $12,000, one on $1,000 and one on $1,800 or something close. Since Meg was my girlfriend, she knew that I wanted to buy a motorcycle. She knew how it works. I decided to go with the check because with that kind of amount, the fees with a bank transfer would increase the price in my situation. The checks had only printed amounts. It was up to me who I will write them to. Meg knew all of this, as well as that I have even more on my bank account. Those were my life savings since I got my first job. A sport motorcycle was my dream. Well, I still don't have it. All my savings I had to invest in my future in the US. It will happen sometime anyway. And ripe stars, with this we have reached the end of the video. However, if you still cannot get enough of my content, then I would highly suggest to check out my endless binge watch playlist, which will soon show up in the left corner of the screen. In addition, I would really appreciate it if you could not only subscribe to the channel, but also turn on the bell notifications, which you can do by clicking on the little bell icon right next to the subscribe button. This will help my channel tremendously, and this will make sure that you don't miss any of my videos. Furthermore, if you want to see additional ripe content that I don't post on YouTube, then I would suggest to head on over to patreon.com/ripeyoutube for more than 50 exclusive videos that you will not see anywhere else. Thank you so much for your amazing daily support, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.